to the Voice of Africa TV. Today we have a very special guest with us who goes by the name of Izzy Odigie. She is a Nigerian choreographer. Izzy, can you please tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up?
So I was born in Brooklyn, New York. And then at the age of 3, my family and my siblings, we went to Nigeria to stay with our father. From there, we went to boarding school for majority of my youth. Yeah, it was a fun, free, but still disciplined childhood. Then I came back in 2007 and, started middle school to high school and then college, etc. So I've just been back here since 2007. But yeah, my childhood was amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I feel like it's kind of nice to kind of get, a perspective of both, cultures as well.
Yes.
I grew up the same exact way too. So I lived in Ghana for a little bit and came here in 7th grade, as well. So yeah, definitely interesting. Were there any, role models or mentors that you had, growing up that you can confide in his or her process?
Growing up, I would say like the seniors in my school. So like because I was very young, when I went to boarding school, I was 4 years old. So I had like a lot of school mothers. I know, but it was like a private boarding school, so it was very secure. Yeah, so it was very secure. Because my dad was raising us alone in Nigeria, so it's like, he needed help, so he put us into a private boarding school. So I had a lot of school mothers. So I would say like Josephine, Miriam. I know you guys probably don't know who those people are, but they helped, keep me safe. They even pushed my passion to like join like performing arts, like acting, dancing, singing, etc. So I would definitely say like my school, which is called Negbenebo International High School. No, international school, sorry, no high. International school. But yeah, I would say just my peers and the people that I was able to meet in that space inspired me a lot.
Sure, yeah, that's very interesting. So how did you first get into, dancing as a whole? I know you kind of really got fully into it in college when you decided to, take some classes off, start your own classes and stuff like that. But how did you initially start getting into it?
So with Afro, that's when I got into it in college, but I've been dancing like my whole life. So growing up, I've been really into performing arts. So I actually wanted to be an actress at first. I did a little bit of singing here and there, like in like school competitions and stuff like that. But I always danced. So it was like kind of like how when you go to a new place, you try to find like your nearest, like, maybe restaurants or like your nearest clothing stores and stuff. Every time I go somewhere new, I find the nearest dance team and I join it. Right. So I've always done that. In boarding school, we did like Fanta competitions. During socials, which are like our weekly parties, I would compete for my class, against different people. So like I've always had that love for dance. When I came back to America, in order to adjust and feel comfortable in my space, I had to find a dance team. That's the way I make friends. That's the way I connect with people. And then when I went to college, that's kind of like when I fell in love with African music again.
Right.
And then I was just able to combine like who I am with what I love to do and make that a career, basically.
Oh, that's very interesting. So I know you studied, psychology in uni. When did you decide? I did my research. When did you decide to professionally pursue dancing?
Yeah, I was still studying like psychology, obviously, and then that's when I founded the dance team. So one thing I realized is that we were getting a lot of traction on campus. So I wanted to see like, okay, these are our friends. These are African Americans or like, white kids or like Asian kids. They don't really know what this is supposed to look like or sound like. So let us go, you know what I'm saying? So let's go perform in front of a crowd that does not know us, does not owe us anything, and are African, right? And then we had like a mix of like, you have like Nigerian pop music, you have like Kuba de Kale music in there, you would have maybe some Afro house or Kuduro type sounds in our choreography. So the more type of Africans we can bring these performances in front of, the more feedback we can get.
Right.
So when that started happening, people were rocking with it, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe you can pay us to do this. So we just kind of like started doing that. Like it'd be like $100 here, maybe $300 here. It would just be like things like that. So we just started like trying things out. So we'll like record one performance. We'll see and be like, okay, we need to fix this, and the third. Let's find a way to interact. We'll go to parties. They'll start spraying us money, you know. Then we'll capture all of this. We'll brand it well. Then we'll put it out on the website to the point that people will be emailing us like every week to come perform in like Maryland and New York and these different places. So it just kind of happened naturally.
No, that's very interesting. So how do you, go about choosing, the type of people, to collaborate with, and how do you use their energies, to encompass your style in general?
So for me, with the way, okay, because obviously I'm in the US, right? And I'm focusing on a style or styles that are from the African continent, right? So at some point, like in the beginning of my career, I couldn't afford to be traveling around to these countries to like actually collaborate with people in on the continent. So what I would do is literally maybe just learn from like social media, whatever I feel when I hear the music, whatever is within me, etc. So when I was able to travel, that's when I was like, okay, my collaborations have to be classes for me. And I'll explain why. Because like when I'm traveling to these different places, I've not reached the point where it's like the host can afford to have me there for like 3 weeks, right? So it'll probably be there for like 3 to 4 days, depending on the project. Maybe I can be there for a month, but I only have like 4 days to myself, right? So when I do collaborate with people, I have to collaborate with people that I feel can teach me something and vice versa, because that's what the true collaboration is. Right. So that's kind of like how I pick my collaborators, people I'm a fan of. I dance with them. People I think, okay, in this field, I think you're amazing. I think you have a unique voice. When we collaborate, there are things about you that I would love to learn or understand, so that's kind of how I pick my collaborations as I go.
Okay, yeah, thank you for touching on that. Can you talk about, the inspiration and motivation behind your latest dance film that you made, and what kind of emotions were you trying to evoke from it?
So yeah, so my dance film Izzy that was kind of a passion project. It's going to be an annual thing though. So last year I started off with a dance tape, which is very similar to this, but still drastically different. Basically it's just like how like an artist, for the year, maybe they drop a couple singles, but then they have like their album, which is kind of like the project separate from their singles. So for me, it was kind of like this year, everything stopped. Well, last year, sorry, everything stopped due to COVID. And I was like, okay, if I am going to do one thing, because I can't tour, I can't do festivals, teaching online is not really my thing. I was still trying to get comfortable with that. I was like, okay, if I only have the opportunity to do one thing and invest everything in one thing, it needs to be something worth creating. So I just basically said, okay, I'm going to put everything into one. You're going to get to know me, all the different emotions that I feel. Like I touched on, anger. I touched on frustration. I touched on, love, self-centeredness, what's it called, femininity, death, even, just on a lot of things like vibrance and just like standing in your skin. Yeah, so it was just like putting everything I was feeling throughout the year into like a visual piece, reintroducing myself to the industry, like, hey, this is what I can create as a dancer, as a dance artist. This is, because it's like, even in that project, it's not just choreography I did, like I choreographed, what's it called? I was part of like even costume design. I was part of like, the creative direction, like every department within that project, it was me in collaboration with someone else. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. Like I didn't even know, like, to be honest, like that much went into, choreography and all that. I mean, obviously, like you elaborated now, it sounds like a lot, and a lot.
Oh yes.
That's very interesting. But you know, it is there an expression of you, or why do you feel as though it's important to touch on subjects like ansars through
Mhm.
dance and other
Mhm.
important social movements?
Yeah. I remember when that was happening because even the day the shooting at the toll gate took place, that was my birthday. That was like literally on my birthday. And it was just like I remember feeling like, yo, like, how can I even celebrate when I know my people like are dying, right? And even before the protest happened, I remember like my dad, like my father lives in Nigeria. He chooses to live in Nigeria, right? Because he came here for school, had a life here, but then says, America is not for me. I'm going back home.
Right.
He loves Benin City, etc. Right? That could be my father.
Mhm.
Even though my dad is not a youth, but sometimes bullets don't have names on them.
Exactly.
That could have been my father. That I have two stepbrothers that live there. I have my stepmom. I have family, uncles, aunts, cousins, etc. that live in Nigeria. I want the opportunity to one day be able to buy property in Lagos or Abuja or Benin City or Edo States, and feel comfortable that okay, one day because maybe I have full locks or an afro, or if I want to dye my hair red, or if I want to drive a Benz because I can afford to, through an unconventional job, that doesn't mean like someone can harass me. You know what I'm saying? Or one day I'm sitting in a what's it called, a shop randomly, and a stray bullet could just end my life because someone is just so trigger happy to let off. You know what I'm saying? So it was just really a bunch of emotions like centered into one because it's like, especially in Lagos, not saying that the NSARS protest only took place in Lagos, but it's like I know a lot of people, friends and peers, especially within my industry, that fit that description,
Mm.
you know? So it was just like, because that video, Violet, which touches on anger and frustration, was made before the protests actually started happening. But it was just like when the protest started happening, I was like, there's no way I can't dedicate this to the deceased victims of police brutality. Like, because literally that was one of the most beautiful movements I've ever seen, because like people could have been angry and start destroying their neighborhoods like
Right.
we've seen in history all over again. Like you get angry at someone who has oppressed you, you start to destroy your own neighborhoods, right? But they took this anger and they focused it and they created something beautiful that literally touched the entire world. So for me, I was like, I think anger can be beautiful. I think anger can create something beautiful if it's used properly, which we clearly saw.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for touching on that as well. Especially with the platform that you have, I feel like I definitely watched that video. I could tell, like, I could feel the emotions that you were trying to evoke from that as well. So, yeah, I think that you're doing a great job, touching on these subjects. And yeah, thank you again. How did coming to the United States, kind of change the way you view choreography? Because I know, like, as of right now, you are, doing much more of African dances. So, how does that help? Like, not being able to be in Africa and learn those dances as they come out and stuff like that.
So yeah, I'm doing more of African street styles, but I'm still like choreographing. Like, so for example, like even the music too.
Mhm.
Like they're like, let's say artists like Fireboy, for example, he can do a sound that's jazz, so like this inspired, etc. Or he could do like a fusion of sounds. So it's like even within that, let's say I can hit some street styles here, but I can do jazz to it, or I can do hip hop to it. I can do, so I feel like the music, the fusion of music that's happening now, well, that's always been happening, especially from the Nigerian scene. It allows me to put everything I have, like my experience with hip hop, my experience with street styles from Nigeria, Konto specifically, my experience with maybe even Ghanaian street styles, or like what I know from South African street styles, etc. So it hasn't like hindered me in any way. Um, but sometimes, yes, like I said, it's always important to go back to the source to like feed the soul of your movement. Because the music too is like you want to be able to interpret the music as best as possible. So if you can understand the slang, like the music is part of like the culture. Like if you go to Nigeria, there's a certain way people move, people talk, people dress, people act. Like you can feel that soul in the music, so you don't want your movement to be too far away from the feeling of the song. So you always have to go back and feed the soul of your movement. Or use social media. Yeah. Yeah.
So what are you, looking forward to the most in this upcoming year?
Things to go back to normal as much as it possibly can. Like, I understand maybe people will be wearing masks for years to come, but I want to be able to physically be like in spaces with groups of people dancing. I want to be able to create, like, even if it's like, okay, maybe festivals may not necessarily be packed out, but it's like you still have a production team where it's like, okay, you have to choreograph, you have to create a show, and then maybe people would just like tune in and watch it, or maybe they'll do like the drive-through, drive-through concerts,
Yeah.
where you watch the concerts from your car, etc., social distancing and all that. I just want to create. Yes.
Crazy though, but like, do you think we can ever go back to that normal?
I think so. I think people just have to take like extra precautions. So maybe if, let's say, it's not like the car thing, maybe you have like those viewing boxes. So it's like you have like maybe those clear boxes. So you're just standing in your box. You're just standing in your box like this. You're just watching. Yeah. I think people just have to be creative, because it's like a world with no like festival outlet to experience your music. Do you know how dry that is? Like, entertainment is very important right now. And I think, because I remember like sometimes, like, let's say when the pandemic happened, like, let's say I'm walking past someone and the person would just do this. Or like, let's say I don't have a mask on or my mask is sliding and the person is just like going back, right? Sometimes it hurts my feelings. And I'm just like, but I understand. It's like, you want to be safe, but it's like, just even in that, like not being able to talk to people normally, or even hug people, touch people, like it's weird. But I understand, like, it's needed. I just wish and pray that we at least go back to normal. Like in Japan, they're still wearing masks like 10 plus years after the I think it was like a nuclear explosion or something like that, right? But it's still normal, kind of. So maybe that's what will happen with us. Yeah.
So what is your next career goal, or do you feel as though you've achieved everything that you set out to?
Oh no. No. Career goal. Obviously with the annual projects, like basically just to grow within that. Eventually I would want to reach a point where I can monetize everything, my content 360. I want to monetize everything. If it's down to my costumes, if it's down to the music, if it's down to the choreography, my image and likeness, etc., with merchandise. So I want to reach a point where that is like, okay, I can monetize off of my content completely on all platforms, etc. I would love to go on tour properly with an African pop star.
Right.
So that's something that hopefully will happen soon, hopefully. But who knows? I feel like, we make plans, but then God makes plans on top of your plans. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see. All I will continue to do is to create and, continue to grow within my creativity. And whatever the universe has in store for me, I am ready.
No, very interesting. I heard you touch on, touring in, Africa. How do you wish to see the future of the, I would say, dance industry in Africa?
I think there's a group of dancers, of dance brands and dance artists that are paving the way now. Like, it's crazy. All over the world. Like, you have, let's say in the US, you have myself, you have Sarah Chips, you have Mecca, you have Ineka, who's like Delison. In Europe, you have like Nife. It's just Nife. Like, she's killing the challenge game right now. Like TikTok, she has it. Crazy, yeah. You have Izzy, who's like, when it comes, every O2 Arena concert that has ever happened, for an African artist, she choreographed all of those. For Davido, Wizkid, etc. On the continent, you have Dance God Lloyd, you have Incredible Ziggy, you have Poco Lee, you have Limpopo Boy from South Africa. You have Bontle. You have, it's so many people. It's so many people. Even Nigeria, you have West Side Lifestyle. You have what's it called? Tiwa Pearl. You have Real Boluwatife. Like, these are dancers, and obviously Kodak that passed away. Her legacy is gonna live forever. You have people that are making their stamp, like, across the world. So I think if dancers just continue going, creating their own lanes, creating their own value, creating their own brand, it's going to reach a point where it's like, we have our own dance festivals, we have our own dance tours around the world. We're able to collaborate with artists on the same level, not like, hey, I'm doing you a favor type thing. It's like a true collaboration. And yeah, we just sustain our industry within the entertainment industry. So I'm excited. I think this generation of dancers, like, they need to watch out. They need to watch out for us.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that too. Because I mean, growing up, I've never really, seen the dance scene be as much in the media. But I feel like with people like you and everyone else that you named, and I'm sure the people out there that you may have forgotten. Hopefully they don't.
Yes, not.
But yeah,
Yes.
making waves. So I feel like it's only up from here.
Yeah.
And the last question I have for you is, how can the Voice of Africa support your causes or any projects that you have in the future?
Well, just like this, like you guys reaching out. Thank you for reaching out. And just having a conversation and feeling like at least dance is important enough. Like, understanding that dance is an important enough topic within the African space, because we are, how do I say this, ambassadors of the culture as well. Like, there's spaces that dancers will be able to travel to that artists may not necessarily be able to travel to. So we are foot soldiers of the culture. So the more you interview us, the more you spread our projects, or like just have us in the conversation. I feel like that's the least we can ask for. So what you're doing now is amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us, of course.